Right now, as you listen to these words, something extraordinary is happening inside your brain. Neurons are firing, neural pathways are being strengthened, and quite literally, your brain is physically changing its structure based on the thoughts you're thinking. This isn't metaphysical speculation. This is hard science. What if I told you that every single thought you've ever had has left a permanent mark on your brain? What if I told you that your thoughts don't just influence your reality, they literally create it at a molecular level? And what if I told you that there's a hidden truth about the power of your mind that most people will never discover, a truth so profound that it completely changes everything about how you approach life, success, and happiness? You see, most people walk through life completely unaware that they possess the most powerful force in the universe right between their ears. They think thoughts are just random mental chatter, fleeting ideas that come and go without consequence. But the scientific reality is far more extraordinary. Your thoughts are the architects of your entire existence. They shape your brain, they influence your genes, they alter your body's chemistry, and they literally bend reality to match their patterns. Today, you're going to discover the hidden mechanisms behind this incredible power. You're going to learn why your thoughts control everything, how they work at levels you never imagined, and most importantly, how to harness this power to transform your life completely. This isn't just another self-help message. This is the hidden truth about human consciousness that changes everything. Are you ready to unlock the most powerful force in your life? Let's begin. Chapter 1. The shocking science of thought power. Let me start with a fact that will completely change how you think about thinking. Scientists at Harvard Medical School conducted an experiment that sounds like science fiction. They took two groups of people and had them practice piano for 2 hours a day. The first group actually played a physical piano. The second group only imagined playing piano. They never touched a real keyboard. After just 5 days, brain scans revealed something extraordinary. Both groups showed identical changes in their motor cortex, the part of the brain responsible for finger movements. Think about what this means. The group that only imagined playing piano developed the same neural pathways as those who actually played. Their brains couldn't tell the difference between a vividly imagined experience and a real one. This is just the beginning of understanding the incredible power your thoughts possess. Your brain contains approximately 86 billion neurons, each connected to thousands of others, creating over 100 trillion neural connections. Every single thought you think sends electrical impulses racing through these networks at speeds of up to 268 miles per hour. But here's what's truly remarkable. Every time you think the same thought, you strengthen that neural pathway. Every time you think a different thought, you create new pathways. Your thoughts are literally sculpting your brain every moment of every day. This process is called neuroplasticity, and it was only discovered in the last few decades. Before this breakthrough, scientists believed the adult brain was fixed and unchangeable. They thought you were stuck with whatever brain you were born with. But now we know the truth. Your brain is constantly rewiring itself based on your thoughts, experiences, and focus. You are literally thinking your brain into new shapes and capabilities every single day. Dr. Joe Dispenza, a neuroscientist who has spent decades studying this phenomenon, puts it perfectly when he says that your thoughts are the vocabulary of your brain, and your feelings are the vocabulary of your body. When you think a thought, your brain immediately releases chemical signals that travel throughout your body. creating physical sensations that match that thought. Think a fearful thought, and your brain releases stress hormones like cortisol and adrenaline. Think a joyful thought, and it releases dopamine and serotonin. But it goes even deeper than that. Recent research in the field of epigenetics has shown that your thoughts can actually turn genes on and off. Dr. Bruce Lipton's groundbreaking work revealed that the environment of the cell, which is controlled by your thoughts and emotions, determines which genes are expressed. This means your thoughts aren't just changing your brain, they're changing your genetic expression. You're literally thinking yourself into different versions of your DNA. Consider this study from the Institute of Heart Math. They found that when people focused on feelings of appreciation and care for just 3 minutes, their immune system function increased by 50%. When they focused on frustration and anger, their immune function was suppressed for up to 6 hours. Your thoughts don't just affect your brain, they affect every cell in your body. The quantum physics of thought is even more mind-bending. At the quantum level, everything in the universe exists as probability waves until observed. The famous double-slit experiment showed that particles behave differently when they're being observed versus when they're not. Some scientists theorize that consciousness itself, your thoughts and attention, play a fundamental role in collapsing these probability waves into physical reality. This isn't just theoretical. Studies have shown that meditation, which is essentially focused thought training, can increase gray matter density in areas of the brain associated with learning and memory, while decreasing it in areas associated with fear and stress. Your thoughts are literally growing and shrinking different parts of your brain. The placebo effect provides some of the most compelling evidence for the power of thought. In study after study, people who simply believe they're receiving treatment show real, measurable improvements in their condition. Their thoughts of healing trigger actual biological healing processes. In some cases, placebo effects are so powerful they match or exceed the effects of actual medications. One of the most dramatic examples comes from Dr. Fabrizio Benedetti's research on Parkinson's disease. When patients believed they were receiving treatment, their brains began producing more dopamine, the very neurotransmitter that Parkinson's destroys. Their thoughts literally activated the production of the chemical their brains needed to heal. But perhaps the most shocking discovery is that your thoughts don't just affect you, they can affect others. Studies in quantum entanglement suggest that when particles become entangled, changing one instantly affects the other, regardless of distance. Some researchers propose that human consciousness might work similarly, that our thoughts and intentions can influence people and events far beyond our physical presence. Your thoughts operate at multiple levels simultaneously. At the neurological level, they're changing your brain structure and chemistry. At the genetic level, they're influencing which genes are expressed. At the quantum level, they might be collapsing probability waves and influencing the fundamental nature of reality itself. And at the field level, they might be connecting you to a vast network of consciousness that extends far beyond your individual mind. This is why understanding the true power of your thoughts is so crucial. You're not just thinking random ideas that have no consequence. Every thought you think is a creative force that's actively shaping your brain, your body, your genes, and possibly reality itself. The question isn't whether your thoughts have power. The question is whether you're going to learn to use that power consciously and deliberately. Chapter 2. How your mind creates your reality matrix. Imagine your mind as the ultimate virtual reality system, far more sophisticated, than any technology ever created. Every moment of your life, your brain is constructing a complete sensory experience of reality from scratch. The colors you see, the sounds you hear, the textures you feel, even your sense of time and space. All of it is being generated by your mind based on the thoughts and beliefs you hold. This isn't philosophical speculation. This is how perception actually works. Your eyes don't see reality. They detect light waves. Your ears don't hear sounds. They detect air pressure changes. Your brain takes these raw sensory inputs and constructs what you experience as reality. But here's the crucial part. This construction process is heavily influenced by your thoughts, beliefs, expectations, and past experiences. Dr. Anil Seth, a leading neuroscientist studying consciousness, calls this process controlled hallucination. He explains that your brain is constantly making predictions about what should be happening based on your beliefs and past experiences, then using sensory input to update those predictions. You're not experiencing reality directly. You're experiencing your brain's best guess about reality, heavily filtered through your thought patterns. This explains why two people can witness the exact same event and have completely different experiences of what happened. Their thoughts and beliefs literally construct different versions of reality from the same raw data. Your reality isn't objective, it's subjective, created by the specific patterns of thought running through your mind. The reticular activating system in your brainstem perfectly demonstrates this principle. This network of neurons acts like a filter, determining which of the millions of bits of sensory information flooding your senses every second actually make it into your conscious awareness. And what determines what gets through this filter? Your thoughts, beliefs, and current focus. Have you ever noticed how when you're thinking about buying a particular car, you suddenly start seeing that model everywhere? The cars were always there, but your thoughts about them activated your reticular activating system to notice them. Your thoughts literally determine what you're capable of perceiving in your environment. This filtering system is constantly operating based on your dominant thought patterns. If you think thoughts of scarcity and lack, your reticular activating system will filter your experience to show you evidence of scarcity. If you think thoughts of abundance and opportunity, it will show you evidence of abundance. Your thoughts don't just influence how you interpret reality, they determine which aspects of reality you're even capable of seeing. Your beliefs act as the programming code for your reality construction system. Dr. Bruce Lipton's research shows that your subconscious mind, which runs primarily on beliefs formed in early childhood, is responsible for about 95% of your daily behavior and life experiences. These beliefs operate like invisible software, automatically filtering and constructing your reality without your conscious awareness. If you have subconscious beliefs that life is hard, people can't be trusted, or success is only for other people, your mind will automatically construct evidence to support these beliefs. It will filter out contradictory information and highlight confirming evidence. You'll literally live in a reality where these beliefs appear to be true, not because they objectively are, but because your mind is constructing that experience. The field of psychoneuroimmunology studies how thoughts and emotions affect the immune system. Researchers have found that optimistic people have stronger immune responses, heal faster from injuries, and live longer than pessimistic people. Their positive thought patterns literally create a different biological reality within their bodies. Dr. Candace Pert's research on neuropeptides revealed that every thought you think creates a chemical reaction that travels throughout your body within seconds. These chemicals don't just affect your brain, They attach to receptor sites on cells throughout your entire body, literally bathing every cell in the chemistry of your thoughts. Your thoughts are creating your physical reality at the cellular level every moment. The fascinating field of chronesthesia, the perception of time, shows that your thoughts even control your experience of time itself. When you're engaged in activities you enjoy, thinking positive thoughts, time seems to fly. When you're bored or anxious, thinking negative thoughts, time crawls. Your thoughts literally alter your subjective experience of one of reality's most fundamental dimensions. Consider the remarkable case of multiple personality disorder, now called dissociative identity disorder. People with this condition can have completely different physical characteristics depending on which personality is active. One personality might need glasses, while another has perfect vision. One might be diabetic, while another has normal blood sugar. Their thoughts and beliefs about their identity literally create different physical realities within the same body. Your mind is constantly scanning your environment for information that matches your current thought patterns and beliefs. This process, called confirmation bias, isn't just a psychological quirk. It's a fundamental feature of how consciousness constructs reality. Your thoughts act like a lens that literally shapes what you're able to see and experience. The most profound realization is that if your thoughts are creating your reality, then changing your thoughts changes your reality. This isn't positive thinking platitudes. This is understanding how consciousness actually works. When you shift your thought patterns, you literally shift the reality your mind constructs from the infinite field of possibilities surrounding you. This is why two people can live in the same physical location but experience completely different realities. Their different thought patterns create different filtering systems, different chemical states, different neural pathways, and ultimately different experienced realities. Your thoughts aren't just commentary on your life. They're the active, creative force constructing your life moment by moment. Understanding this gives you incredible power. Instead of being a passive victim of circumstances, you become the active creator of your experience. Every thought you choose to think is a vote for the kind of reality you want to experience. Every belief you choose to hold shapes the world your mind will construct for you. Your mind is the most sophisticated reality creation system in the known universe, and your thoughts are the programming code that determines what reality it creates. The question isn't whether you're creating your reality. You're doing that automatically every moment. The question is whether you're going to learn to do it consciously and deliberately, or whether you'll continue to create by default based on unconscious patterns. Chapter 3. The Neuroscience of Mental Programming. Your brain is running on software, just like a computer, and that software is made up of your thoughts, beliefs, and mental patterns. But unlike computer software, this programming is constantly being rewritten based on what you think about most often. Every repeated thought strengthens certain neural pathways while allowing others to weaken, literally programming your brain to operate in specific ways. The human brain contains approximately 86 billion neurons, each capable of forming thousands of connections with other neurons. This creates a network of over 100 trillion neural connections, more than all the stars in the known universe. These connections form patterns, and these patterns determine everything about how you think, feel, and behave. Dr. Donald Hebb, a pioneering neuroscientist, discovered the fundamental principle of neural programming when he observed that neurons that fire together wire together. Every time you think a specific thought, particular neurons activate in a specific sequence. When you think that same thought repeatedly, those neurons become increasingly connected, making it easier for that thought pattern to activate in the future. This is how habits form at the neurological level. The first time you think a new thought or perform a new action, you're creating a thin neural pathway, like a footpath through a forest. Each time you repeat that thought or action, you're walking down that same path, making it wider and more established. Eventually, with enough repetition, that path becomes a superhighway that your brain automatically travels down without conscious effort. But here's what's fascinating. Your brain doesn't distinguish between thoughts you consciously choose and thoughts that just happen to pop into your head. It treats all repeated thoughts equally, strengthening whatever patterns fire most frequently, regardless of whether those patterns serve you or sabotage you. This is why most people feel stuck in repetitive patterns of thinking and behavior. They've unknowingly programmed their brains through years of unconscious thought repetition. Their brains have become very efficient at running the same old programs, even when those programs create stress, limitation, and unhappiness. Neuroscientist Dr. Joe Dispenza explains that by age 35, about 95% of who you are is a set of memorized behaviors, emotional reactions, unconscious habits, hardwired attitudes, beliefs, and perceptions that function like a computer program. You wake up in the morning, and your brain automatically activates the same neural networks it activated yesterday, creating the same thoughts, which create the same choices, which create the same behaviors, which create the same experiences, which create the same emotions. This explains why changing feels so difficult. When you try to think differently or behave differently, you're literally working against years or decades of neural programming. Your brain has become comfortable with certain patterns and will resist changes to those patterns because change requires energy and effort. But the extraordinary news is that your brain remains plastic throughout your entire life. Neuroplasticity means that you can rewire your brain at any age by consciously directing your thoughts in new directions. The key is understanding how to work with your brain's natural programming mechanisms instead of against them. The process starts with awareness. You cannot change neural patterns you're not aware of. Most people are unconscious of their thought patterns because they've been running them automatically for so long. The first step in reprogramming your brain is developing what neuroscientists call metacognition, the ability to think about your thinking. When you become aware of a thought pattern as it's happening, you create what Dr. Dan Siegel calls a rain response. You can recognize the pattern, allow it to be there without judgment, investigate it with curiosity, and then make a non-reactive choice about whether to continue that pattern or choose a different thought. The most powerful time to reprogram your brain is during the theta brainwave state, which occurs naturally just before you fall asleep and just as you wake up. In this state, your brain is highly suggestible, and new neural pathways can be formed much more easily. This is why many successful people have specific routines for the first and last minutes of their day, using these windows to consciously program their minds. Repetition is the key to creating new neural pathways. Neuroscientists have found that it takes approximately 66 days of consistent repetition to form a new neural pathway strong enough to become automatic. But here's the crucial part. You have to repeat the new pattern more frequently than you activate the old pattern, or the old pathway will remain dominant. This is why willpower alone rarely creates lasting change. Willpower is a conscious effort that requires energy and attention. The moment you're stressed, tired, or distracted, your brain will default back to its strongest neural pathways, which are usually the old patterns you're trying to change. The solution is to use what neuroscientists call spaced repetition, combined with emotional intensity. Spaced repetition means revisiting new thought patterns multiple times throughout the day, rather than trying to focus on them for one long period. Emotional intensity means connecting strong, positive emotions to the new patterns, because emotion is the brain's way of marking something as important and worthy of remembering. Mirror neurons add another fascinating dimension to mental programming. These specialized neurons fire both when you perform an action and when you observe someone else performing the same action. This means your brain is constantly being programmed, not just by your own thoughts and experiences, but by the thoughts and behaviors of people around you. This is why your environment has such a powerful effect on your mental programming. If you're constantly around people who think negatively, complain frequently, or operate from limitation, your mirror neurons are literally programming your brain to think and behave similarly. Conversely, surrounding yourself with positive, successful, growth-minded people helps program your brain for similar patterns. The default mode network, discovered through brain imaging technology, reveals another crucial aspect of mental programming. This network, which includes the medial prefrontal cortex and posterior cingulate cortex, is active when your mind is at rest and not focused on a specific task. It's responsible for the constant stream of thoughts, memories, and mental chatter that runs through your mind. Research shows that the default mode network of depressed individuals shows different patterns than those of happy individuals. People prone to anxiety show different patterns than those who are naturally calm. Your default mental programming, the thoughts that run automatically when you're not consciously directing your attention, plays a huge role in determining your baseline emotional state and life experience. The good news is that meditation and mindfulness practices can literally rewire the default mode network. Studies show that as little as 8 weeks of meditation practice can create measurable changes in brain structure, reducing activity in areas associated with stress and negative thinking, while increasing activity in areas associated with attention, compassion, and emotional regulation. Understanding the neuroscience of mental programming reveals that changing your life isn't about changing your circumstances, it's about changing your neural pathways. When you change the software running in your brain, everything else changes automatically. Your thoughts, emotions, behaviors, and experiences all shift to match your new mental programming. Chapter 4. Breaking Free from Mental Prison Cells. Right now, you're living in a prison. But this isn't a prison made of steel bars and concrete walls. It's a prison made of thoughts, beliefs, and mental patterns that limit what you believe is possible for your life. The most insidious part is that you built this prison yourself, thought by thought, belief by belief, over many years. But here's the liberating truth. If you built it, you can tear it down. Most people are completely unaware they're living in mental prison cells. They think the limitations they experience are just the way life is, that their current reality represents the full scope of what's possible for them. They've become so accustomed to their mental constraints that they mistake them for actual reality, not recognizing that they're self-imposed restrictions created by patterns of thought. These mental prison cells take many forms. There's the prison cell of "I'm not good enough," which keeps you from pursuing opportunities and taking risks. There's the prison cell of "I don't deserve success," which sabotages your efforts every time you start making progress. There's the prison cell of "people like me don't achieve great things," which limits your vision of what's possible. Each of these beliefs creates invisible walls that feel absolutely real but exist only in your mind. Dr. Martin Seligman's research on learned helplessness perfectly demonstrates how these mental prisons form. In his experiments, dogs were given electric shocks they couldn't escape. Later, when placed in situations where escape was possible, the dogs didn't even try to escape because they had learned to believe escape was impossible. They had been conditioned into a mental prison of helplessness. Humans create the same kind of learned helplessness through repetitive thought patterns. When you repeatedly think thoughts like, "I always fail," "I'm not smart enough," or "I never get what I want," you're conditioning yourself into mental helplessness. Your brain begins to filter reality to confirm these beliefs, making them seem absolutely true and inescapable. But every prison has keys, and the keys to your mental prison are hidden in plain sight. The first key is awareness. You cannot escape a prison you don't know you're in. Most people never examine their thought patterns closely enough to realize they're operating from limiting beliefs. They accept their mental chatter as objective reality rather than recognizing it as programmable software. Dr. Byron Katie's work on questioning thoughts provides a powerful framework for developing this awareness. She teaches people to examine their limiting beliefs by asking 4 simple questions. Is it true? Can you absolutely know that it's true? How do you react when you believe that thought? Who would you be without that thought? This process of inquiry reveals that most limiting beliefs crumble under examination. The second key is understanding that thoughts are not facts. Just because you think something doesn't make it true. Your brain is constantly generating thoughts based on past programming. But you have the power to evaluate these thoughts and choose which ones to believe and which ones to discard. You are not your thoughts. You are the consciousness that observes thoughts. The third key is neuroplasticity. Your brain can form new neural pathways at any age, which means you can literally rewire yourself out of mental prison cells. Every time you think a new thought, you create the possibility of a new neural pathway. Every time you repeat that new thought, you strengthen the pathway. Eventually, new empowering thoughts can become as automatic as the old limiting ones. The fourth key is emotional reprogramming. Your mental prison cells aren't just held in place by thoughts, they're reinforced by the emotions associated with those thoughts. When you think a limiting thought, you feel a corresponding emotion which reinforces the thought, creating a closed loop. Breaking free requires changing both the thought and the emotional response. The fifth key is identity shifting. Many mental prison cells are maintained by rigid concepts of identity. I'm just not a confident person. I'm not the type who succeeds. I'm not creative. These identity statements create some of the strongest mental prisons because they feel like fundamental truths about who you are rather than changeable beliefs. But identity is fluid and programmable. Every moment, you have the opportunity to choose who you want to be. Instead of saying, "I'm not confident," you can choose to think, "I'm learning to be more confident." Instead of, "I'm not successful," you can think, "I'm developing success skills." These subtle shifts in identity thinking can unlock massive changes in what feels possible. The sixth key is environmental reprogramming. Your physical and social environment constantly reinforces your mental prison cells. If you're surrounded by people who believe limitations are real and permanent, their belief will strengthen your prison walls. If you consume media that reinforces scarcity and fear, you're building stronger prison cells. Breaking free requires consciously creating an environment that supports your new mental programming. This might mean changing your social circle, modifying your media consumption, or creating physical spaces that remind you of your expanding possibilities rather than your limitations. The seventh key is taking action despite the fear. Mental prison cells are maintained by avoidance. When you avoid challenges because you believe you'll fail, you reinforce the belief that failure is inevitable. When you avoid opportunities because you believe you're not qualified, you reinforce the belief that you're inadequate. The only way to prove to yourself that your mental prisons are illusions is to act despite them. Every time you take action in the face of a limiting belief, you gather evidence that the belief might not be true. Over time, this evidence accumulates until the old belief can no longer maintain its grip on your reality. The most profound realization in breaking free from mental prison cells is that they were never real in the first place. They were constructions of thought, reinforced by repetition and emotional investment, but they had no substance beyond what you gave them. The walls that seemed so solid were made of nothing more than repeated patterns of thinking. When you truly understand this, you realize that freedom has always been available to you. You were never actually trapped. You only believed you were trapped. The prison door was never locked. You just never tried to open it because you believed it was locked. Every limitation you've accepted was a choice, which means every limitation can be unchosen. Breaking free from mental prison cells isn't just about removing limitations. It's about discovering the unlimited being you actually are beneath all the conditioning. When you clear away the mental debris of limiting beliefs, what emerges is your true creative power, your natural confidence, your inherent worthiness, and your unlimited potential to create whatever reality matches your highest vision. Chapter 5. The Quantum Field of Infinite Possibilities. Beyond the physical world you can see and touch exists a realm that quantum physicists call the quantum field, a dimension of pure potential where all possibilities exist simultaneously until consciousness collapses them into specific realities. This isn't science fiction, this is cutting-edge physics, and it reveals something extraordinary about the role your thoughts play in creating your reality. In classical physics, reality was thought to be fixed and predetermined. Objects had definite locations, events had specific outcomes, and the future was simply the inevitable result of past causes. But quantum mechanics shattered this view, revealing that at the fundamental level, reality exists in a state of infinite potential until the moment of observation or measurement. The famous double-slit experiment demonstrates this mind-bending principle. When electrons are fired at a screen with two slits, they behave like waves and pass through both slits simultaneously, creating an interference pattern. But the moment you observe which slit an electron passes through, it behaves like a particle and passes through only one slit. The act of observation literally changes the behavior of reality at the quantum level. Dr. Amit Goswami, a quantum physicist and consciousness researcher, argues that consciousness is not produced by matter, but rather consciousness is fundamental and uses matter as its vehicle of expression. From this perspective, your thoughts and attention are not just neural activity, they are fundamental forces that interact with the quantum field to collapse specific possibilities into your experienced reality. This quantum view of reality suggests that every moment offers you an infinite menu of possibilities. In the quantum field, there exists a version of reality where you are successful, healthy, happy, and fulfilled. There also exists versions where you struggle, suffer, and remain limited. Your thoughts, beliefs, and expectations act like a tuning fork, resonating with and attracting the possibilities that match their frequency. Dr. John Wheeler, a prominent physicist, coined the term observer effect to describe how consciousness affects reality at the quantum level. He proposed that we live in a participatory universe, where consciousness is not separate from reality, but actively participates in its creation. Your thoughts are not just observing reality, they are participating in its moment-by-moment creation. This participatory relationship between consciousness and reality operates through what physicists call the collapse of the wave function. In quantum mechanics, particles exist in what's called superposition, simultaneously existing in all possible states until observed. The act of observation causes the wave function to collapse, forcing the particle to take on specific characteristics. Dr. Henry Stapp, a quantum physicist at Berkeley, suggests that human consciousness plays a central role in this wave function collapse. Your thoughts, attention, and expectations influence which possibilities collapse from the quantum field into your experienced reality. This means you're not just witnessing reality, you're actively selecting it from an infinite field of potential realities. The implications are staggering. If consciousness influences the collapse of quantum possibilities into reality, then your thoughts are literally creative forces operating at the most fundamental level of existence. Every thought you think is a vote for which version of reality gets selected from the quantum field of infinite possibilities. This explains why people with similar circumstances can have dramatically different life experiences. They're unconsciously selecting different possibilities from the quantum field based on their dominant thought patterns, beliefs, and expectations. Their consciousness is tuning into different frequencies of potential reality. The zero-point field, discovered by quantum physicists, reveals that what we think of as empty space is actually a sea of infinite energy and information. This field connects everything in the universe at the quantum level, suggesting that your thoughts might influence reality not just locally, but throughout the entire quantum field that underlies all of existence. Dr. Lynn McTaggart's research on intention experiments demonstrates that focused human intention can influence physical reality in measurable ways. In controlled studies, groups of people focusing their intention on specific outcomes have been able to influence everything from the growth rate of plants to the behavior of random number generators. Their thoughts appear to be interacting with the quantum field to influence physical reality. The quantum field operates outside of normal space and time constraints. In quantum entanglement, particles that have interacted remain connected regardless of distance, with changes to one particle instantly affecting the other. This suggests that your thoughts might be able to influence reality in ways that transcend the limitations of physical space and linear time. This quantum understanding of reality provides a scientific framework for understanding how visualization, affirmations, and other mental techniques can create real changes in your life. When you visualize a desired outcome with clarity and emotion, you're not just engaging in wishful thinking, you're potentially influencing the quantum field to increase the probability of that outcome manifesting in your reality. The key to accessing the quantum field of infinite possibilities is learning to think beyond your current reality. As long as your thoughts are trapped in patterns based on past experiences and current limitations, you'll continue to select similar possibilities from the quantum field. But when you learn to think thoughts that transcend your current reality, you open access to possibilities that have never existed in your experience before. Meditation and mindfulness practices help you access the quantum field by quieting the mind's tendency to think in old patterns. When your thoughts become still and present, you create space for new possibilities to emerge from the field of infinite potential. Many breakthrough insights and creative solutions come during these quiet moments, when the mind is open to possibilities beyond its usual patterns. The quantum field responds to the quality of your thoughts and emotions. Thoughts filled with fear, doubt, and limitation resonate with possibilities that match those frequencies. Thoughts filled with love, possibility, and expansion resonate with possibilities that match those higher frequencies. The quantum field is neutral. It simply responds to whatever frequency your consciousness is broadcasting. This means that accessing higher possibilities from the quantum field requires elevating the quality of your thoughts and emotions. When you cultivate feelings of gratitude, love, joy, and possibility, you tune your consciousness to frequencies where more desirable realities exist. You literally raise your vibration to access higher possibilities. The most profound realization is that the quantum field contains infinite possibilities for your life. There is no limit to what can emerge from this field of pure potential. The only limitations are the ones created by your thoughts, beliefs, and the frequencies you choose to resonate with through your consciousness. Understanding the quantum field of infinite possibilities changes everything about how you approach life. Instead of feeling trapped by current circumstances or limited by past experiences, you realize that every moment offers access to unlimited potential. Your thoughts become tools for navigating and selecting from this infinite field of possibility. You are not a victim of a fixed reality. You are a conscious participant in an infinite field of creative potential. Every thought you think, every belief you hold, every emotion you feel is influencing which possibilities collapse from the quantum field into your experienced reality. This gives you incredible power and incredible responsibility for the reality you create. This is the hidden truth that changes everything. You live in a universe of infinite possibilities, and your thoughts are the key to accessing and manifesting any possibility that resonates with your consciousness. The quantum field is waiting to respond to your thoughts, ready to collapse whatever possibilities match the frequency of your awareness into your lived reality. Chapter 6. Reprogramming your subconscious mind. Your subconscious mind is like a massive computer running in the background of your consciousness, processing over 11 million bits of information per second, while your conscious mind handles only about 40 bits. This subconscious powerhouse controls 95% of your daily thoughts, emotions, and behaviors, operating from programs installed primarily during your first 7 years of life. Understanding how to reprogram this mental supercomputer is the key to transforming your entire reality. Dr. Bruce Lipton's groundbreaking research reveals that during the first 7 years of life, children's brains operate primarily in theta brainwave states, the same frequency used in hypnosis. This means children are essentially in a hypnotic trance, absorbing every belief, emotion, and behavioral pattern from their environment without the critical thinking filters that develop later. These early programs become the subconscious software that runs your adult life. The problem is that most of these early programs were installed by people who themselves were operating from limitation, fear, and unconscious patterns. Your parents, teachers, and caregivers passed on their own programmed beliefs about money, relationships, success, and self-worth, often without realizing they were programming a young mind with limitations that could last a lifetime. By the time you reach adulthood, your subconscious mind has been programmed with thousands of beliefs that operate automatically below the threshold of your awareness. These beliefs control everything from how much money you think you deserve to how worthy you feel of love and success. They determine which opportunities you notice, which risks you're willing to take, and how you interpret every experience in your life. The subconscious mind doesn't distinguish between what's real and what's imagined, what's true and what's false, what serves you and what limits you. It simply runs whatever programs have been installed most frequently and most emotionally. This is why you can consciously desire success while subconsciously sabotaging your efforts, or want love while unconsciously pushing people away. Neuroscientist Dr. Candace Pert discovered that neuropeptides, the chemical messengers of emotion, are produced not just in the brain but throughout the body. This means your subconscious emotional programs are literally embedded in every cell of your body. Changing these programs requires more than just positive thinking. It requires reprogramming at the cellular level. The good news is that the same neuroplasticity that allowed these programs to be installed in the first place allows them to be changed. Your brain remains programmable throughout your entire life, capable of forming new neural pathways and releasing old ones. The key is understanding how to access and influence the subconscious mind directly. Repetition is the most fundamental programming language of the subconscious mind. Just as the original programs were installed through repetition during childhood, new programs can be installed through conscious repetition of new thoughts, beliefs, and behaviors. But this repetition must be frequent, consistent, and emotionally charged to override decades of old programming. Affirmations work when they're done correctly, which means repeating new beliefs in the same state that the original programming occurred, the theta brainwave state. This happens naturally just before you fall asleep and just as you wake up, making these crucial windows for subconscious reprogramming. During these times, your conscious mind is less active, allowing direct access to subconscious programming. Visualization is another powerful tool for subconscious reprogramming because the subconscious mind thinks in images, not words. When you create vivid mental movies of your desired reality, complete with emotions and sensory details, you're giving your subconscious mind new programming in its native language. The more real you can make these visualizations feel, the more effectively they reprogram your subconscious patterns. Dr. Joe Dispenza's research shows that when people consistently visualize new experiences while in meditative states, their brains begin to fire in new patterns, creating new neural networks that support experiences they've never actually had. Their subconscious minds begin operating from new programs that align with their visualized realities rather than their past experiences. Emotional release techniques are crucial for subconscious reprogramming because many limiting programs are held in place by trapped emotions from past experiences. Techniques like EFT tapping, EMDR, and breathwork help release the emotional charge that keeps old programs active, making space for new, empowering programs to take root. The subconscious mind is also highly influenced by environmental programming. The people you spend time with, the media you consume, and the spaces you inhabit all contribute to your subconscious programming. Consciously curating your environment to support your new desired programs accelerates the reprogramming process. Hypnosis and self-hypnosis provide direct access to subconscious programming by inducing the theta brainwave state where new suggestions can be installed directly. Many people resist hypnosis because they fear losing control, but therapeutic hypnosis actually gives you more control by allowing you to consciously direct your subconscious programming. The most powerful subconscious reprogramming happens when you combine multiple techniques simultaneously. Using affirmations while visualizing in a meditative state, surrounded by supportive environmental cues, creates a programming cocktail that can override even the most entrenched limiting beliefs. Identity shifting is perhaps the most profound form of subconscious reprogramming. Instead of trying to change specific behaviors or beliefs, you reprogram your fundamental sense of who you are. When you shift from identifying as someone who struggles with money to someone who naturally attracts abundance, every aspect of your subconscious programming begins aligning with this new identity. The subconscious mind loves routine and predictability, which is why it resists change even when that change would benefit you. Overcoming this resistance requires patience and persistence, gradually introducing new programs while maintaining enough familiarity that the subconscious doesn't trigger its protective mechanisms. Understanding that your current reality is a perfect reflection of your subconscious programming gives you incredible power. Every limitation you experience, every pattern you keep repeating, every result you keep getting is showing you exactly what programs are running in your subconscious mind. Your external world is a mirror of your internal programming. The most liberating realization is that you are not your subconscious programs. You are the consciousness that can observe, evaluate, and change those programs. While the programs may have been installed without your conscious consent, you now have the power to rewrite them deliberately and purposefully. Reprogramming your subconscious mind is not about forcing change or fighting against old patterns. It's about gently and consistently installing new programs that are more aligned with who you want to become and what you want to experience. With patience, persistence, and the right techniques, you can reprogram any limiting belief and install any empowering program you choose. Chapter 7. The Power of Visualization and Mental Rehearsal. Every Olympic athlete, elite performer, and high achiever knows a secret that most people never discover. Your brain cannot distinguish between a vividly imagined experience and a real one. When you visualize performing an action with sufficient detail and emotion, your brain activates the same neural pathways as if you were actually performing that action, literally training your nervous system for success without physical practice. The science behind visualization is staggering. When researchers at Harvard Medical School studied people learning to play piano, they discovered that those who only imagined playing showed nearly identical brain changes to those who actually practiced on a physical keyboard. The motor cortex, the area responsible for finger movements, developed the same neural pathways in both groups. Mental practice was creating real physical changes in the brain. Dr. Alvaro Pasqualeone, who led this research, concluded that mental simulation of movement activates the same neural networks as actual movement. This means that when you visualize yourself succeeding, you're literally programming your brain's neural networks to support that success. You're creating a neurological blueprint that your brain and body can follow when the real situation arises. Professional athletes have been using this principle for decades. Michael Jordan famously visualized every shot before taking it. Golf legend Jack Nicklaus said he never hit a shot without first clearly seeing it in his mind. Olympic skier Lindsey Vonn spent hours visualizing her runs down mountains she'd never skied, programming her nervous system for peak performance before ever touching snow. The key to effective visualization lies in understanding how your brain processes imagery. Your visual cortex doesn't just process what you see with your eyes, it also processes what you imagine. When you create detailed mental images, you activate the same brain regions involved in actual visual perception. This is why vivid visualization feels so real, because to your brain, it is real. But visualization isn't just about seeing. It's about creating complete sensory experiences in your mind. The most powerful visualizations engage all 5 senses, plus the emotions associated with your desired outcome. When you visualize success, you need to see what you'll see, hear what you'll hear, feel what you'll feel, and experience the emotions of having already achieved your goal. Neuroscientist Dr. Stephen Koslin's research reveals that mental imagery uses many of the same brain systems as perception. When you visualize an object, your brain activates the same regions that would fire if you were actually looking at that object. This neural overlap explains why visualization can be so powerful for programming new realities into your nervous system. The timing of visualization matters enormously. The most effective time to visualize is when your brain is in alpha or theta states, which occur naturally during relaxation, meditation, and the drowsy periods before sleep and after waking. During these states, your subconscious mind is most receptive to new programming, and visualized experiences can be installed more deeply into your neural networks. Mental rehearsal works because your nervous system is constantly predicting and preparing for future events based on past experiences and current programming. When you repeatedly visualize new experiences, you give your nervous system new data to work with, new possibilities to prepare for. Your brain begins to treat these visualized experiences as memories, making them feel familiar and achievable. The emotional component of visualization is crucial because emotion is what the brain uses to mark experiences as important and worthy of remembering. Dry, emotionless visualization has little impact. But when you infuse your mental imagery with the excitement, joy, gratitude, and satisfaction of achieving your goals, you create powerful emotional memories that drive behavior. Dr. Guang Yue at the Cleveland Clinic conducted a fascinating study showing that people who only imagined exercising their muscles increased muscle strength by 13.5% compared to 30% for those who actually exercised. The mental training group activated the same brain regions responsible for motor control, proving that visualization can create real physical changes without physical action. Visualization works by activating what neuroscientists call mirror neurons, specialized brain cells that fire both when you perform an action and when you observe or imagine that action. These neurons are constantly preparing your nervous system for actions you might need to take based on what you're observing or imagining. Visualization hijacks this system to prepare you for success. The reticular activating system, your brain's attention filter, also responds to visualization. When you repeatedly visualize specific outcomes, your RAS begins filtering your environment to notice opportunities, resources, and information related to those outcomes. Visualization literally programs your brain to see possibilities you might otherwise miss. For visualization to create lasting change, it must be practiced consistently over time. Neuroscientists have found that it takes approximately 66 days of repetition to create automatic neural pathways. This means your visualization practice needs to be daily and sustained to create the neural programming that will support your goals in real life. The specificity of your visualization determines its effectiveness. Vague, general imagery has little impact, but detailed, specific mental rehearsal creates precise neural programming. Elite athletes don't just visualize winning. They visualize every detail of their performance, their breathing, their form, their timing, their emotional state, even potential challenges and how they'll respond to them. Progressive visualization, where you gradually increase the challenge and complexity of what you're mentally rehearsing, builds confidence and competence systematically. Start by visualizing easier versions of your goal, then progressively work up to more challenging scenarios. This builds a foundation of neural programming that supports increasingly ambitious achievements. Visualization combined with affirmations creates even more powerful programming. While you're seeing your success in your mind's eye, affirm your capability, worthiness, and inevitability of that success. This combination engages both the visual and language centers of your brain, creating more robust neural pathways. The most advanced visualization technique involves what's called future memory creation. Instead of just imagining achieving your goal, you create detailed memories of the entire journey, including challenges you overcame, lessons you learned, and growth you experienced. This programs your brain with a complete success template, not just the end result. Many people resist visualization because it feels like make-believe or wishful thinking. But understanding the neuroscience behind it reveals that visualization is actually sophisticated brain training. You're not pretending, you're programming. You're not fantasizing, you're creating neural pathways that will support real-world performance. The key is to visualize from the first-person perspective, seeing through your own eyes, rather than watching yourself from the outside. This engages the motor cortex more effectively and creates stronger neural programming. You want your brain to experience the visualization as if it's actually happening to you, not as if you're watching someone else. Mental rehearsal also works for emotional and psychological skills, not just physical performance. You can visualize yourself being confident in social situations, calm under pressure, or creative in problem-solving. Your brain will develop neural pathways that support these psychological states, just as effectively as it develops pathways for physical skills. The most profound realization about visualization is that it proves your thoughts have the power to literally rewire your brain. Every time you engage in detailed mental rehearsal, you're demonstrating the incredible plasticity of your nervous system and the creative power of your consciousness. You're proving to yourself that your thoughts can create real, measurable changes in your neurology. Visualization isn't magic, it's applied neuroscience. When you understand that your brain is constantly changing based on what you focus on and imagine, visualization becomes a precision tool for neurological programming. You're not hoping your mental imagery will somehow influence reality. You're directly training your brain and nervous system to support the reality you desire. Chapter 8. Overcoming negative thought patterns and cognitive distortions. Your mind generates approximately 60, 0 to 80, 0 thoughts per day. And for most people, roughly 80% of these thoughts are negative and 95% are repetitive thoughts from the day before. This means you're spending most of your mental energy reinforcing the same limiting patterns that created your current reality. Breaking free from this cycle of negative thinking isn't just about feeling better, it's about literally rewiring your brain to create new possibilities. Negative thought patterns operate like mental viruses, self-replicating programs that spread through your consciousness and infect every area of your life. These patterns were often installed during childhood or traumatic experiences, but they continue running automatically years or decades later, even when they no longer serve any protective purpose. They create what psychologists call cognitive distortions, systematic errors in thinking that maintain depression, anxiety, and limitation. Dr. Aaron Beck, the founder of cognitive behavioral therapy, identified numerous cognitive distortions that trap people in negative thinking cycles. All-or-nothing thinking makes you see situations in extremes with no middle ground. Catastrophizing makes you imagine the worst possible outcomes in every situation. Mind reading makes you assume you know what others are thinking about you. These distortions feel completely real when you're experiencing them, but they're actually just faulty programming running in your mental software. The confirmation bias built into your brain makes negative thinking particularly sticky. Your reticular activating system filters reality to confirm whatever you're already thinking. So negative thoughts create negative experiences, which confirm that negative thinking is realistic, which creates more negative thoughts. You get trapped in a self-fulfilling prophecy where your negative expectations create the very reality you feared. Neuroscientist Dr. Rick Hansen explains that your brain has a negativity bias that evolved for survival. Your ancestors who were constantly alert to threats and dangers were more likely to survive, so your brain is wired to focus on problems, remember negative experiences more vividly, and anticipate threats. This served human survival for thousands of years, but in modern life, it often creates unnecessary suffering and limitation. The default mode network in your brain, active when you're not focused on specific tasks, tends to generate repetitive thoughts about problems, regrets, and worries. This mental chatter creates what Buddhists call the monkey mind, an endless stream of mostly negative thoughts that jumps from concern to concern without resolution. Learning to quiet this default mental activity is crucial for breaking negative thought patterns. Breaking negative thinking patterns requires first developing awareness of them. Most people are so identified with their thoughts that they don't recognize them as separate from themselves. They think I am anxious instead of I am having anxious thoughts. This identification makes thoughts feel like unchangeable facts rather than programmable mental events that you can observe and modify. Mindfulness meditation provides the foundation for developing this awareness. When you practice observing your thoughts without getting caught up in them, you begin to see that thoughts are temporary mental events, not permanent truths. You realize that you are not your thoughts. You are the awareness that can observe thoughts, evaluate them, and choose which ones to believe and which ones to release. Cognitive restructuring techniques help you challenge and change negative thought patterns systematically. When you notice a negative thought, you can examine it objectively. Is this thought true? Is it helpful? What evidence supports or contradicts it? What would I tell a friend who had this thought? This process weakens the automatic power of negative thoughts and creates space for more balanced, realistic thinking. The thought-stopping technique interrupts negative thinking patterns before they can spiral into extended worry sessions. The moment you notice negative thoughts beginning, you literally say, "Stop" to yourself, either mentally or out loud, then immediately redirect your attention to something positive or productive. This breaks the neural pathway before it can strengthen through repetition. Reframing transforms negative thoughts by finding more empowering ways to interpret the same situation. Instead of, "This is terrible," you might think, "This is challenging, but I can learn from it." Instead of, "I always fail," you might think, "I haven't succeeded yet, but I'm learning what works." Reframing doesn't deny reality. It finds more empowering ways to relate to reality. The technique of externalization helps you separate yourself from negative thoughts by giving them an identity separate from your own. You might call your inner critic George, or refer to anxiety as that worried voice. This creates psychological distance between you and the negative patterns, making them easier to observe and change, rather than being controlled by them. Positive psychology research shows that cultivating specific positive emotions can counteract negative thinking patterns. Gratitude rewires your brain to notice what's working rather than what's wrong. Joy creates resilience against stress and negativity. Love and compassion generate neural chemistry that promotes healing and growth. Consciously cultivating these emotions isn't positive thinking fluff. It's targeted neural reprogramming. The ancient Stoic practice of examining your thoughts objectively provides a powerful framework for overcoming negative patterns. Stoics like Marcus Aurelius and Epictetus taught that you suffer not from events themselves, but from your judgments about events. When you learn to examine and question your interpretations, you discover that much of your suffering comes from mental stories, not actual circumstances. Neuroplasticity research proves that negative thought patterns can be permanently changed through consistent practice of new thinking habits. Dr. Daniel Siegel's research shows that mindfulness practices can actually reduce the size of the amygdala, the brain's fear center, while strengthening the prefrontal cortex, responsible for rational thinking and emotional regulation. The key insight is that negative thoughts gain power through repetition and emotional investment. The same neural mechanisms that created and strengthened negative patterns can be used to create positive patterns. Every time you catch a negative thought and choose a more empowering alternative, you're literally rewiring your brain's default programming. Environmental factors significantly influence thought patterns. Negative news, toxic relationships, and stressful environments all feed negative thinking cycles. Consciously curating your environment to include more positive influences, inspiring content, and supportive relationships creates external support for internal change. Physical practices also impact thought patterns because your mind and body are interconnected systems. Regular exercise generates neurochemicals that combat depression and anxiety. Proper nutrition provides the brain with resources for optimal function. Adequate sleep allows the brain to clear metabolic waste and consolidate positive changes. The most profound realization in overcoming negative thinking is that these patterns are not permanent features of your personality. They're simply habits of thought that can be changed. You weren't born with negative thinking. You learned it, which means you can unlearn it and learn new patterns that better serve your growth and happiness. Advanced techniques like loving-kindness meditation specifically train your brain to generate positive thoughts and emotions toward yourself and others. Studies show that just 7 weeks of loving-kindness practice can increase positive emotions, life satisfaction, and social connectedness, while reducing implicit bias and increasing emotional processing. The ultimate goal isn't to never have negative thoughts, but to develop a healthy relationship with them. Negative thoughts will arise. They're part of human consciousness, but you don't have to believe them, invest in them, or let them control your behavior. When you understand that thoughts are just mental events, not commands or truths, you reclaim your power to choose your response. Breaking free from negative thought patterns is one of the most liberating achievements possible because these patterns affect every aspect of your life. When you clean up your mental programming, everything else begins to shift. Your emotions become more stable, your behavior becomes more effective, your relationships improve, and your ability to create the life you want expands dramatically. Chapter 9. Emotional Mastery Through Thought Control. Your emotions are not mysterious forces that happen to you. They are biochemical responses created by your thoughts. And this understanding gives you incredible power over your emotional experience. Every emotion you feel begins with a thought, either conscious or unconscious, that triggers your brain to release specific chemicals throughout your body. When you master your thoughts, you master your emotions, and when you master your emotions, you master your life. The human brain produces over 100 different neurotransmitters and hormones that create emotional experiences. Dopamine creates pleasure and motivation. Serotonin generates feelings of well-being and happiness. Oxytocin produces love and connection. Cortisol creates stress and anxiety. Each of these chemicals is released in response to specific thought patterns, which means your thoughts are literally the remote control for your emotional chemistry. Dr. Candace Pert's revolutionary research on neuropeptides revealed that emotions are not just experienced in the brain, they are felt throughout the entire body. When you think a fearful thought, stress chemicals travel through your bloodstream and attach to receptor sites on cells throughout your body within seconds. Your thoughts don't just change your mental state. They change your entire physiology. This means that when you change your thoughts, you literally change the chemistry of your body. Think a grateful thought, and your body releases chemicals that promote healing and well-being. Think an angry thought, and your body is flooded with inflammatory chemicals that suppress immune function and create tension. Your thoughts are your body's pharmacy, capable of producing any emotional state you choose to focus on. The key insight is that emotions follow thoughts, not the other way around. Most people believe they think certain thoughts because they feel certain emotions, but the reverse is actually true. You feel emotions because of the thoughts you think. This understanding transforms you from a victim of your emotions into the conscious director of your emotional experience. However, many thoughts that create emotions happen below the threshold of consciousness. Your subconscious mind is constantly interpreting situations and generating automatic thoughts based on past programming. And these thoughts create emotional responses before you're even aware they've occurred. This is why emotional mastery requires developing awareness of both conscious and unconscious thought patterns. The fascinating phenomenon of emotional contagion shows that your emotional state is also influenced by the thoughts and emotions of people around you. Mirror neurons in your brain automatically mimic the emotional states you observe in others, which means surrounding yourself with positive, emotionally mastered people literally programs your brain for similar emotional patterns. Meditation research shows that you can develop what neuroscientists call emotional regulation, the ability to observe emotions without being overwhelmed by them. When you practice mindful awareness of your emotional responses, you create what Dr. Dan Siegel calls the window of tolerance, a state where you can experience emotions fully without being controlled by them. The ancient practice of witnessing consciousness teaches you to observe your thoughts and emotions from a detached perspective. When you can watch an emotion arising, experience it fully, and then watch it pass away, you realize that emotions are temporary experiences, not permanent states. This witnessing capacity gives you tremendous freedom because you're no longer at the mercy of emotional fluctuations. Cognitive reappraisal, the process of changing how you interpret situations, is one of the most powerful tools for emotional mastery. When something happens that triggers a negative emotional response, you can literally change your emotion by changing your thoughts about the situation. The event stays the same, but your emotional experience transforms completely based on how you choose to think about it. The technique of pre-paving involves consciously choosing how you want to feel in upcoming situations by thinking thoughts that will generate those emotions. Before entering a challenging meeting, you can think thoughts that generate confidence and clarity. Before a social gathering, you can think thoughts that create joy and connection. You're literally programming your emotional state in advance. Neurofeedback research reveals that you can learn to consciously influence your brainwave patterns, which directly affects your emotional states. Alpha waves create calm alertness. Theta waves produce deep relaxation and creativity. Beta waves generate focused concentration. By learning to consciously influence your brain waves through focused attention, you gain direct control over your emotional states. The practice of emotional alchemy involves transforming negative emotions into positive ones through conscious thought direction. When you feel anger, you can channel that energy into determination. When you feel fear, you can transform it into excitement by recognizing that both emotions have similar physiological signatures but different mental interpretations. Gratitude practices provide some of the most reliable methods for generating positive emotions on command. When you focus your thoughts on appreciation for anything in your life, your brain immediately begins producing chemicals associated with happiness and well-being. Gratitude is like an emotional reset button that can shift your state within minutes. The ancient Stoic practice of emotional discipline teaches that you always have a choice between the initial emotional reaction and your sustained emotional response. The first emotional flash might be automatic, but what you do with that emotion, how long you maintain it, and how intensely you experience it are all choices you can learn to make consciously. Visualization can be used to practice emotional responses to future situations. By mentally rehearsing challenging scenarios, while maintaining calm, confident, emotional states, you train your nervous system to respond differently when those situations actually occur. You're literally programming your emotional responses in advance through focused mental practice. The understanding that emotions are information, not commands, provides crucial perspective for emotional mastery. Fear might be telling you to pay attention to potential risks, but it's not commanding you to avoid all risks. Anger might be indicating that boundaries have been crossed, but it's not commanding you to attack. Learning to receive emotional information without being controlled by emotional impulses is a crucial skill. Advanced emotional mastery involves learning to generate specific emotional states at will, regardless of circumstances. This isn't about suppressing negative emotions or pretending everything is fine. It's about developing the capacity to access resourceful emotional states when you need them most. Great leaders, performers, and achievers all possess this ability to consciously access peak emotional states. The most profound realization in emotional mastery is that you are not your emotions. You are the consciousness that experiences emotions. Emotions arise and pass away like weather patterns in the sky of your awareness. When you identify with the sky rather than the weather, you maintain your center, regardless of what emotional experiences are moving through you. Physical practices like breathwork, movement, and posture also influence emotions because your mental and emotional states are intimately connected to your physical state. Changing your posture can change your confidence. Changing your breathing can change your anxiety levels. Your body and mind are one integrated system, and you can influence emotions through either mental or physical practices. The ultimate goal of emotional mastery is not to never feel negative emotions, but to develop the capacity to choose your emotional responses consciously rather than being unconsciously controlled by them. When you understand that thoughts create emotions, and you learn to direct your thoughts consciously, you transform from being emotionally reactive to emotionally responsive. This transformation affects every area of your life. Your relationships improve because you're not controlled by emotional reactivity. Your performance increases because you can access optimal emotional states when needed. Your health improves because you're not constantly bathing your body in stress chemicals. Your happiness increases because you're no longer at the mercy of random emotional fluctuations. Emotional mastery through thought control is perhaps the most practical and immediately applicable aspect of understanding how your thoughts control everything. Every moment offers you the opportunity to choose thoughts that generate the emotions you want to experience. Your emotional life becomes a conscious creation rather than an unconscious reaction. Chapter 10. The Science of Belief and How It Shapes Reality. Beliefs are not just abstract ideas floating around in your mind. They are powerful neurological networks that literally filter and shape your perception of reality. Every belief you hold creates specific neural pathways in your brain that determine what you're capable of seeing, thinking, and experiencing. Understanding the science of belief reveals that your beliefs don't just influence your reality, they actually create your reality at the most fundamental level. A belief is essentially a thought that you've thought so many times it has become automatic and feels like truth. When you repeatedly think the same thought over months or years, you create increasingly strong neural pathways that make that thought pattern feel natural and inevitable. Eventually, the thought becomes so automatic that you don't even recognize it as a thought anymore. It feels like an objective fact about reality. Dr. Bruce Lipton's research on cellular biology reveals that beliefs control biology at the cellular level. Your cells don't respond to your environment directly. They respond to your perception of your environment, and your perceptions are controlled by your beliefs. This means your beliefs are literally programming your biology every moment, influencing everything from your immune function to your energy levels to your aging process. The placebo effect provides the most dramatic evidence of how beliefs create physical reality. In study after study, people who believe they're receiving treatment show real, measurable improvements in their condition, even when they're only receiving sugar pills or fake procedures. Their beliefs literally activate healing processes in their bodies, demonstrating the incredible power of belief to influence physical reality. Dr. Joe Dispenza documents cases where people have healed serious conditions simply by changing their beliefs about what was possible for their bodies. Their new beliefs activated different genetic expressions, altered their biochemistry, and literally rewired their nervous systems to support healing. They didn't just think differently about their conditions, they thought themselves into different biological realities. The reticular activating system in your brainstem acts as a belief-driven filter that determines what aspects of reality make it into your conscious awareness. Your beliefs program this filter to notice evidence that confirms what you already believe while ignoring contradictory information. This creates a closed loop where your beliefs create experiences that confirm your beliefs, making them feel absolutely true even when they're limiting or false. Confirmation bias operates at every level of perception, from the basic sensory processing of information to complex interpretation of events. When you believe life is hard, your brain automatically notices everything difficult, while filtering out ease and flow. When you believe opportunities are scarce, you literally cannot see abundant opportunities that others might notice easily. Your beliefs create the lens through which you perceive reality. Neuroscientist Dr. Eben Alexander's near-death experience research suggests that consciousness might be more fundamental than previously thought, and that beliefs might influence reality at levels beyond just perception and biology. Some quantum physicists theorize that consciousness and belief might influence the collapse of quantum possibilities into experienced reality, though this remains at the frontier of scientific understanding. The most insidious aspect of limiting beliefs is that they feel completely true to the person holding them. Someone who believes they're not smart enough to succeed has usually accumulated years of evidence to support this belief, not realizing that their belief was creating experiences that confirmed it. They live in a reality where their limitation appears absolutely real, because their belief has been constructing that reality all along. Belief change requires more than just deciding to think differently. Beliefs are held in place by neural networks that have been strengthened over years or decades. Changing beliefs requires creating new neural pathways while allowing old ones to weaken, and this process requires consistent repetition of new thought patterns combined with emotional intensity that marks the new beliefs as important. The most effective belief change techniques work by accessing the same brain states that beliefs were originally formed in. Since many core beliefs were installed during childhood when the brain was in theta states, belief change is most effective when you access theta states through meditation, self-hypnosis, or other consciousness-altering practices. Visualization accelerates belief change because the brain doesn't distinguish between vividly imagined experiences and real ones. When you repeatedly visualize evidence of new, empowering beliefs, your brain begins to treat these visualizations as actual memories, making the new beliefs feel more true and natural over time. Environmental programming significantly influences belief formation and change. When you surround yourself with people who hold limiting beliefs, their constant reinforcement makes those beliefs feel more true. When you surround yourself with people who hold empowering beliefs, their example provides evidence that expanded realities are possible. The field of epigenetics reveals that beliefs can influence genetic expression across generations. Studies show that trauma and stress can alter genetic expression in ways that affect children and grandchildren, but positive beliefs and practices can also influence genetic expression in beneficial ways. Your beliefs aren't just affecting your current reality, they might be programming the reality of future generations. Collective beliefs create what sociologists call social reality. Shared beliefs that become so widely accepted, they shape the behavior of entire societies. These collective beliefs about what's possible, normal, or achievable create cultural limitations or opportunities that feel like objective reality, but are actually shared mental constructions that can be changed. The most empowering realization about beliefs is that they are all choices, even though they feel like fact. Every belief you hold was learned at some point, which means it can be unlearned and replaced with a more empowering belief. You are not stuck with the beliefs you inherited from family, culture, or past experiences. You have the power to examine, evaluate, and change any belief that doesn't serve your highest potential. Advanced belief work involves what's called identity-level change, where you shift core beliefs about who you are rather than just what you can do. When you change beliefs like "I am capable," "I am worthy," or "I am creative," you shift the fundamental operating system that generates all your other thoughts, emotions, and behaviors. The process of installing new beliefs requires what psychologists call cognitive dissonance, the discomfort that arises when new information conflicts with existing beliefs. Most people avoid this discomfort by rejecting new information, but belief change requires embracing this dissonance as evidence that growth is occurring. Belief archaeology involves tracing current beliefs back to their origins to understand how they were formed. Many limiting beliefs were installed during emotional events or by authority figures when you were young and impressionable. Understanding the origin of a belief often weakens its power because you realize it was just someone else's opinion, not an objective truth about reality. The most profound understanding about beliefs is that reality is far more malleable than most people realize. The world you experience is largely a construction of the beliefs you hold, individually and collectively. When you truly grasp this, you realize that changing your beliefs doesn't just change your experience of reality, it changes reality itself. This understanding transforms you from a victim of circumstances into a conscious creator of reality. Instead of believing that your circumstances determine your possibilities, you realize that your beliefs about what's possible determine your circumstances. This shift in understanding is the foundation of all lasting personal transformation and success. Chapter 11. Creating your future through present moment awareness. The most powerful moment for creating your future exists right now, in this present moment. While most people spend their mental energy reliving the past or worrying about the future, the actual creative power of your thoughts can only be accessed in the present. Understanding how to harness present moment awareness transforms you from someone who hopes for a better future into someone who actively creates it through conscious thought direction. Your brain processes reality in approximately 400 millisecond chunks, meaning every moment is actually a series of discrete conscious experiences strung together so quickly they feel continuous. Each of these micro-moments offers you a choice point where you can direct your thoughts toward the future you want to create, or allow them to drift into unconscious patterns that recreate your past. Dr. Eckhart Tolle's research on presence reveals that the present moment is the only place where transformation can occur. The past exists only as neural patterns in your brain, and the future exists only as projections based on those patterns. Real change happens when you use present moment awareness to consciously choose new thoughts that will create new neural patterns and therefore new future experiences. Neuroscientist Dr. Judson Brewer's studies on mindfulness show that present moment awareness literally changes brain structure. When you practice staying present, rather than getting lost in mental time travel, you strengthen the prefrontal cortex responsible for conscious choice, while weakening the default mode network responsible for unconscious mental chatter. The quantum field responds to your present moment state of consciousness. While your past thoughts may have created your current circumstances, your present thoughts are creating your future circumstances. Every moment you spend in conscious presence is a moment where you can access new possibilities from the field of infinite potential, rather than recycling old patterns. Present moment awareness allows you to catch limiting thoughts before they gain momentum. Most negative thinking spirals begin with a single thought that triggers associated thoughts, which trigger emotions, which trigger more thoughts, creating mental and emotional states that feel overwhelming. When you're present, you can intercept this process at the first thought and choose a different direction. The practice of witnessing consciousness involves stepping back from your thoughts and observing them as temporary mental events rather than identifying with them completely. When you can observe a worried thought arise and pass away, you realize you are not the thought. You are the awareness that can observe thoughts. This awareness gives you the power to choose which thoughts to invest in and which to let go. Breathing serves as an anchor to present moment awareness because it only happens now. When your mind drifts into past regrets or future anxieties, consciously focusing on your breath brings you back to the present, where your creative power resides. Each breath is an opportunity to choose thoughts that align with the future you want to create. Body awareness also anchors you in the present because your body always exists in now. When you feel the sensations in your hands, feet, or posture, you're automatically brought into present moment consciousness, where you can consciously direct your thoughts rather than being unconsciously driven by mental patterns. The concept of temporal landmarks shows that your brain creates stronger memories and makes more significant decisions when you feel you're in a meaningful present moment. New years, birthdays, and significant events create psychological fresh starts where change feels more possible. You can create these temporal landmarks artificially by declaring any moment a fresh start. Meditation trains present moment awareness by teaching you to observe thoughts without getting caught up in their content. When you meditate, you practice returning your attention to the present over and over again, strengthening your capacity to stay conscious and choose your thoughts rather than being unconsciously driven by them. The paradox of present moment creation is that when you stop trying to escape your current reality and instead become fully present with it, you gain the power to change it. Resistance to your current situation keeps you trapped in struggle, but acceptance of the present moment while choosing new thoughts for the future creates flow and transformation. Gratitude practices work because gratitude can only be experienced in the present moment. When you feel genuinely grateful for something in your current experience, you're automatically brought into present moment awareness while simultaneously generating positive emotions that support the creation of positive futures. Present moment awareness reveals that every thought is a choice, even thoughts that feel automatic. When you're unconscious, thoughts seem to think themselves. But when you're present, you can observe thoughts arising and choose whether to develop them or let them pass. This conscious choice is the foundation of all mental mastery. The technique of thought-watching involves sitting quietly and observing the stream of thoughts flowing through your mind without engaging with their content. This practice reveals how random and repetitive most thinking is, and strengthens your ability to step back from thoughts and choose which ones deserve your attention. Mindful decision-making involves pausing before choices to connect with present moment awareness and ask what decision would align with the future you want to create. Instead of making decisions based on past patterns or emotional reactions, you make choices from a centered, conscious state that serves your highest vision. The understanding that the present moment is the only place where your creative power exists transforms how you approach every aspect of life. Instead of postponing happiness until some future achievement, you find fulfillment in consciously creating through present moment awareness. Instead of being driven by unconscious patterns, you become the conscious director of your mental and emotional experience. Present moment awareness isn't about stopping all thinking or eliminating planning for the future. It's about developing the capacity to think consciously and purposefully, rather than being unconsciously controlled by repetitive mental patterns. When you're present, your thinking becomes a tool you use rather than a process that uses you. The most profound realization about present moment awareness is that it reveals your true nature as consciousness itself, not the thoughts and emotions that flow through consciousness. When you identify with awareness rather than mental content, you gain access to unlimited creative potential because awareness itself has no limitations. Chapter 12. The Hidden Power of Intention Setting. Intention is the invisible force that bridges the gap between thought and manifestation. While thoughts create possibilities, intentions focus your mental energy with laser precision towards specific outcomes. When you understand how to set and maintain powerful intentions, you transform from someone who thinks randomly about what they want into someone who directs their consciousness with surgical precision toward their desired reality. Neuroscientist Dr. Lynn McTaggart's research reveals that focused human intention can influence physical reality in measurable ways. In controlled experiments, groups focusing their intention on specific outcomes have successfully influenced everything from plant growth rates to the healing of people thousands of miles away. Intention appears to operate through quantum field interactions that science is only beginning to understand. An intention differs from a wish or goal because it carries the full power of your consciousness behind it. A wish is passive hoping, and a goal is often just mental planning. But an intention is a decisive commitment of your creative force toward a specific outcome. When you set a true intention, you're not just thinking about what you want, you're aligning every level of your being toward its creation. The most powerful intentions are set from what Dr. Wayne Dyer called the source level of consciousness, a state of deep presence and connection to your highest self. When intentions emerge from this level, they carry a quality of inevitability because they're aligned with your deepest truth rather than surface desires or ego wants. Clarity is the foundation of powerful intention setting. Vague intentions create vague results because they don't give your subconscious mind a clear target to focus on. The more specific and detailed your intention, the more precisely your consciousness can align toward its manifestation. Instead of intending to be successful, intend to create a specific type of success with detailed characteristics. Emotional charge amplifies the power of intentions because emotion is what the brain uses to mark experiences as important. Intentions set with strong positive emotion literally program themselves more deeply into your neural networks and create stronger resonance with the quantum field of possibilities. Feel the excitement, gratitude, and satisfaction of your intention already fulfilled while setting it. The timing of intention setting affects its power. The most receptive times are during alpha and theta brainwave states, which occur naturally during meditation, just before sleep, and upon waking. During these states, your subconscious mind is most open to new programming, and your intentions can be installed more deeply into your consciousness. Dr. Joe Dispenza's research shows that intentions combined with elevated emotions can literally signal new genes ahead of the environment. When you set intentions from states of gratitude, joy, or love rather than fear, lack, or desperation, you create coherence between your heart and brain that optimizes your body's ability to create new realities. The quantum field responds to the frequency of your consciousness when you set intentions. Intentions set from states of fear, doubt, or desperation emit lower frequencies that attract chaotic or limiting experiences. Intentions set from states of love, gratitude, and possibility emit higher frequencies that attract harmonious and abundant experiences. Attachment to specific outcomes can actually weaken intentions by creating resistance and desperate energy. The most powerful intentions are set with what Deepak Chopra calls detached involvement, where you're fully committed to the intention but unattached to exactly how or when it manifests. This allows the universe to deliver your intention in ways that might be even better than you imagined. Daily intention renewal keeps your intentions active in your consciousness. Setting an intention once and forgetting about it rarely creates lasting change because your default mental patterns will reassert themselves. Successful manifestors revisit their intentions daily, feeling into them emotionally and visualizing their fulfillment to keep them energetically alive. The language of intention matters because your subconscious mind responds to specific words and phrases. Intentions stated in present tense as if already happening, I am or I have, carry more power than future tense statements. I will because they program your mind to align with the reality of having rather than the experience of wanting. Group intention amplifies individual intention through what researchers call the field effect. When multiple people focus their intentions on the same outcome, they create a collective field that's more powerful than the sum of individual intentions. This explains why prayer groups, meditation circles, and mastermind groups can be so effective for manifestation. Intention without action often leads to frustration because the physical world requires both mental direction and physical movement. The most effective approach combines clear intention setting with inspired action, where you set the intention and then take whatever steps feel aligned and exciting rather than forcing predetermined plans. The practice of surrender completes the intention-setting process by releasing your need to control exactly how your intention manifests. After setting a clear intention and taking aligned action, surrendering allows the universe to work through synchronicities, opportunities, and pathways you couldn't have planned or controlled. Measuring intention fulfillment requires looking for signs of movement rather than expecting immediate, complete manifestation. Intentions often fulfill gradually through a series of steps, opportunities, and synchronicities. Learning to recognize and appreciate partial fulfillment keeps you aligned with the process, rather than becoming discouraged by unrealistic timelines. The most advanced intention setters understand that intentions don't just create external results, they transform the person setting them. Every intention you set and pursue changes your neural pathways, expands your comfort zone, and evolves your identity. The person you become through pursuing your intentions is often more valuable than the specific outcomes you achieve. Intention setting works because it harnesses the creative power of consciousness itself. When you set an intention with clarity, emotion, and surrender, you're directing the same force that created the universe toward your personal desires. This isn't metaphysical speculation, but recognition that consciousness appears to be a fundamental creative force in reality. The ultimate realization about intention setting is that you're always setting intentions, whether you realize it or not. Every desire you focus on, every outcome you expect, every future you imagine is an intention that's programming your reality. The question isn't whether to set intentions, but whether to set them consciously and purposefully, or unconsciously and randomly. Chapter 13. Transforming Limiting Beliefs into Empowering Truths. Limiting beliefs are mental viruses that infect every area of your life, creating invisible barriers that feel absolutely real, but exist only in your mind. These beliefs operate like software programs running in the background of your consciousness, automatically generating thoughts, emotions, and behaviors that keep you stuck in patterns of limitation. The revolutionary truth is that every limiting belief can be transformed into an empowering truth through specific techniques that reprogram your neural networks. Most limiting beliefs were installed during emotional events, when your conscious defenses were down. Perhaps a teacher said you weren't smart enough, a parent suggested you'd never amount to much, or a failure convinced you that success wasn't meant for you. These experiences created neural pathways that now automatically generate thoughts and feelings that confirm the limitation, creating a self-fulfilling prophecy that makes the belief feel true. Dr. Bruce Lipton's research reveals that 95% of your life comes from subconscious programming installed before age 7, much of it consisting of limiting beliefs about what's possible for someone like you. These beliefs literally control your biology, influencing which genes are expressed and which remain dormant. Transforming limiting beliefs isn't just psychological work. It's biological reprogramming at the cellular level. The first step in transforming limiting beliefs is identifying them, which requires detective work because they often operate below conscious awareness. Pay attention to areas where you consistently struggle or feel stuck. Notice the automatic thoughts that arise when you consider pursuing your dreams. Listen to the language you use to describe yourself and your capabilities. These patterns reveal the limiting beliefs programming your experience. The technique of belief archaeology involves tracing limiting beliefs back to their origins. When did you first start believing you weren't good enough, smart enough, or worthy enough? What event or person first planted this idea in your mind? Understanding the origin often weakens a belief's power because you realize it was just someone else's opinion or a misinterpretation of an isolated event, not an objective truth about your capabilities. Cognitive restructuring challenges limiting beliefs by examining the evidence for and against them. Most limiting beliefs crumble under logical scrutiny because they're based on limited data, emotional interpretations, or outdated information. Ask yourself, is this belief absolutely true? What evidence contradicts it? How has believing this served or limited me? What would be possible if I released this belief? The most powerful transformation technique is belief flipping, where you consciously create the exact opposite of your limiting belief and begin installing it through repetition and emotional reinforcement. If your limiting belief is, "I'm not good enough," your empowering truth becomes, "I am more than enough." If you believe success is only for others, your new truth becomes, "Success flows naturally to me." Emotional release is crucial for belief transformation because limiting beliefs are often held in place by trapped emotions from the original programming events. Techniques like EFT tapping, breathwork, or somatic experiencing help release the emotional charge that keeps old beliefs active, creating space for new empowering beliefs to take root. Visualization accelerates belief transformation by providing your brain with new evidence that contradicts old limitations. When you repeatedly visualize yourself embodying your empowering beliefs, your brain begins to treat these images as memories, making the new beliefs feel more natural and true. Your nervous system can't distinguish between vividly imagined success and actual success. Environmental reprogramming supports belief transformation by surrounding yourself with evidence of your new empowering beliefs. If you're transforming beliefs about wealth, surround yourself with successful people and prosperity symbols. If you're changing beliefs about your capabilities, immerse yourself in stories of people who've achieved what you desire. Your environment constantly programs your beliefs. The technique of acting as if involves behaving as though your empowering beliefs are already true. Walk, talk, and make decisions from the identity of someone who fully embodies your new beliefs. This behavioral programming sends signals to your subconscious mind that the new beliefs are real, accelerating their integration into your automatic programming. Affirmation work transforms beliefs when done correctly, which means combining repetition with emotional intensity and present tense language. Instead of merely reciting words, feel the truth of your empowering beliefs as you state them. Your subconscious mind responds to the emotional charge more than the words themselves, so generate genuine excitement and gratitude while affirming your new truths. Social proof accelerates belief transformation by connecting with others who embody the beliefs you want to adopt. When you see other people living the reality that your old beliefs said was impossible, it weakens those limitations and strengthens new possibilities. Mentors, coaches, and peer groups provide living evidence that your empowering beliefs can be true. The identity shift approach transforms beliefs by changing how you see yourself rather than just what you think you can do. Instead of trying to believe you can be successful while maintaining an identity as someone who struggles, shift your entire sense of self to someone who naturally succeeds. Identity level changes automatically reprogram all the beliefs that flow from that identity. Neuroplasticity research confirms that belief transformation literally rewires your brain. Dr. Joe Dispenza's studies show that when people consistently practice new beliefs combined with elevated emotions, they create new neural networks within weeks. Their brains begin firing in patterns that support their empowering beliefs rather than their old limitations. The quantum perspective on belief transformation suggests that beliefs don't just influence your perception of reality, they influence which realities you're able to access from the field of infinite possibilities. Transforming limiting beliefs opens access to possibilities that were previously unavailable because your old beliefs couldn't resonate with them. Advanced belief work involves installing what Tony Robbins calls massive action beliefs, empowering truths so powerful they compel you to take the actions necessary to create your desired reality. These aren't just positive thoughts, but deeply held convictions that automatically generate the thoughts, emotions, and behaviors that lead to success. The completion of belief transformation occurs when your new empowering beliefs feel as natural and automatic as your old limiting ones once did. You'll know the transformation is complete when you can't remember why you ever believed the old limitations, and when your new empowering truths feel like obvious facts about who you are and what's possible for your life. Maintaining transformed beliefs requires ongoing reinforcement because your environment and unconscious patterns may try to reactivate old limitations. Create daily practices that reinforce your empowering beliefs through visualization, affirmation, and aligned action. The stronger you make your new neural pathways, the more automatic your empowering beliefs become. The ultimate realization about belief transformation is that every belief is a choice, even those that feel like unchangeable facts. You have the power to examine any belief, trace its origin, evaluate its truth, and consciously choose to replace it with something more empowering. Your beliefs create your reality, which means transforming your beliefs transforms your entire life experience. Chapter 14. Advanced Manifestation Through Mental Programming. Advanced manifestation goes far beyond positive thinking or simple visualization. It involves understanding and utilizing the sophisticated programming languages of consciousness to create specific realities with precision and speed. When you master these advanced techniques, you transform from someone who hopes for better outcomes into someone who systematically programs their mind to generate their desired reality with scientific precision. The foundation of advanced manifestation is understanding that your subconscious mind operates like a quantum computer, processing millions of calculations per second to create your experienced reality. This computer runs on specific programming languages, images, emotions, sensations, and repetitive thought patterns. When you learn to program it consciously, using these languages, you can create any reality that aligns with natural law. Dr. Joe Dispenza's research reveals that advanced manifestation requires creating a clear neurological signature of your desired outcome before it happens in your physical reality. This means you must be able to think, feel, and behave as the person who has already achieved your desire, literally rewiring your brain to match your future self rather than your past self. The technique of state management involves learning to generate specific internal states that align with your desired outcomes. If you want to manifest confidence, you must learn to access confident states at will. If you want to manifest abundance, you must cultivate abundant states regardless of current circumstances. Your internal state broadcasts the signal that determines what you attract. Advanced visualization involves what Disney Imagineers call blue sky thinking, creating detailed mental experiences that engage all senses and emotions simultaneously. You don't just see your desired outcome, You create complete sensory experiences of living that reality, including sounds, smells, textures, and most importantly, the emotions of having already achieved your goal. The quantum field responds to coherence between your thoughts and emotions. When your mind thinks one thing but your heart feels another, you create incoherent signals that produce mixed or delayed results. Advanced manifestation requires achieving heart-brain coherence, where your thoughts and emotions are perfectly aligned toward your desired outcome. Timeline programming involves mentally creating detailed success, timelines that feel as real as memories. Instead of just visualizing the end result, you create mental movies of the entire journey, including challenges you overcome, decisions you make, and growth you experience. This programs your subconscious with a complete success template rather than just a desired destination. The technique of future memory installation treats your desired outcomes as memories from your future self. You visualize your achievements with the same detail and emotional intensity as treasured memories from your past. This programs your brain to treat these outcomes as inevitable rather than possible, creating powerful subconscious momentum toward their manifestation. Energy management becomes crucial for advanced manifestation because sustained high vibration states require significant mental and physical energy. This involves optimizing your nutrition, sleep, exercise, and stress management to maintain the energetic states necessary for consistent manifestation work. Your body must support the consciousness levels required for advanced creation. The principle of minimum effective dose applies to manifestation work. Rather than spending hours in unfocused effort, advanced practitioners identify the specific techniques that create the most change in the least time. This might be 20 minutes of high-intensity visualization combined with emotional elevation rather than hours of scattered mental work. Advanced manifestors understand the importance of environmental programming, consciously designing their physical and social environments to support their desired realities. This includes surrounding themselves with visual representations of their goals, associating with people who embody their desired outcomes, and eliminating environmental factors that reinforce old limitations. The technique of identity shifting involves completely embodying the version of yourself who has already achieved your desires. You adopt the thoughts, emotions, behaviors, and even the posture of your successful future self. This isn't pretending or acting. It's consciously evolving into the person who naturally creates the results you want. Synchronicity acceleration occurs when your manifestation work reaches critical mass and reality begins organizing itself around your intentions. You start noticing meaningful coincidences, unexpected opportunities, and resources appearing at perfect timing. This indicates that your consciousness is successfully influencing the quantum field to support your desires. The advanced practitioner learns to manifest from what Eckhart Tolle calls the unmanifested, the field of pure potential that exists beyond form. Instead of trying to manipulate existing circumstances, you learn to access the source level of creation where new realities originate. This requires transcending attachment to current conditions and connecting with unlimited possibility. Emotional signature programming involves identifying and cultivating the specific emotional frequency of your desired outcome. Every achievement has a characteristic emotional signature. Wealth feels different than poverty. Health feels different than illness. Love feels different than loneliness. Learning to generate these emotional signatures consistently attracts their corresponding realities. The master-level technique involves what mystics call manifestation from emptiness, creating from a state of complete presence and non-attachment. Paradoxically, The less attached you are to your desires while maintaining clear intention, the faster they tend to manifest. This requires developing what Buddhists call the middle way between craving and aversion. Advanced manifestation also requires understanding and working with what Carl Jung called the shadow aspects of desire. Often, unconscious resistance to success, worthiness issues, or fear of change block manifestation. Advanced practitioners learn to identify and integrate these shadow elements rather than fighting against them. The ultimate level of manifestation mastery involves recognizing that you are not creating something outside yourself, but rather remembering and aligning with what already exists in the quantum field of infinite possibilities. Every desired outcome already exists as potential, and manifestation is the process of collapsing specific possibilities into experienced reality through consciousness. This understanding transforms manifestation from effortful striving into elegant alignment. When you realize that everything you desire already exists in potential form, manifestation becomes a matter of tuning your consciousness to the frequency where those potentials can be accessed and experienced as reality. Chapter 15. Integrating Thought Mastery into Daily Life. The ultimate test of understanding how your thoughts control everything is not what you can achieve during meditation or visualization sessions, but how skillfully you can apply these principles in the midst of daily life. True thought mastery means maintaining conscious control over your mental processes while navigating work challenges, relationship dynamics, unexpected obstacles, and the thousands of small moments that make up ordinary life. The morning foundation ritual creates the neurological template for your entire day. Instead of immediately checking your phone or jumping into reactive mode, the first 30 minutes after waking should be dedicated to conscious thought programming. This might include meditation, visualization, affirmations, and setting clear intentions for how you want to think, feel, and respond throughout the day. Thought interruption techniques become essential for maintaining mastery in reactive situations. When you notice your mind beginning to spiral into worry, anger, or limitation, immediately interrupt the pattern with a predetermined technique. This might be taking 3 deep breaths, repeating a power phrase, or asking yourself, "What would my highest self think right now?" The practice of micro-meditations involves taking brief moments throughout the day to reset your mental state. Even 30 seconds of conscious breathing or present moment awareness can interrupt negative patterns and restore mental clarity. These micro-practices accumulate throughout the day, maintaining the cognitive fitness necessary for thought mastery. Environmental consciousness means becoming aware of how different environments affect your thought patterns and either modifying those environments or strengthening your mental immunity to negative influences. Your physical space, the people you interact with, and the information you consume all program your thoughts, either supportively or destructively. The art of conscious communication involves monitoring not just what you say out loud, but the internal dialogue running through your mind during interactions. Advanced practitioners learn to maintain empowering internal narratives, even while dealing with difficult people or challenging conversations, preventing external chaos from disrupting internal peace. Stress inoculation training prepares you to maintain thought mastery under pressure by gradually exposing yourself to manageable challenges while practicing your mental techniques. Like physical fitness, mental fitness requires progressive training to handle increasingly difficult situations while maintaining conscious choice over your mental responses. The principle of response versus reaction distinguishes between unconscious mental patterns and conscious mental choices. Reactions are automatic thought-emotion patterns triggered by external events. Responses are consciously chosen thoughts and emotions that align with your highest intentions regardless of external circumstances. Daily thought auditing involves regularly checking in with your mental state throughout the day. Set random alarms or use environmental cues to pause and notice what you've been thinking about. This awareness practice helps you catch unconscious thought patterns before they gain momentum and redirect your mental energy toward more constructive patterns. The technique of cognitive switching allows you to consciously change your mental state by changing what you focus on and how you interpret situations. When you notice your thoughts moving in an unproductive direction, you can switch to questions like, "What's good about this situation?" or "How can I grow from this experience?" Advanced practitioners develop what Daniel Goleman calls emotional intelligence, the ability to navigate their emotional landscape consciously rather than being unconsciously driven by emotional reactions. This includes recognizing emotional patterns as they arise, understanding their message, and choosing responses that serve long-term goals rather than immediate impulses. The practice of mental Aikido involves using the energy of challenging situations to strengthen your thought mastery rather than being depleted by them. Instead of resisting difficult circumstances, you learn to flow with them while maintaining your centered mental state, transforming obstacles into opportunities for demonstrating mastery. Time consciousness recognizes that different times of day offer different opportunities for mental programming. Morning hours are ideal for installing positive programs, evening hours for releasing negative patterns, and transition moments throughout the day for course corrections. Aligning your mental practices with natural energy rhythms increases their effectiveness. The integration challenge involves maintaining thought mastery while engaged in demanding activities like work deadlines, family responsibilities, or social obligations. This requires developing what athletes call unconscious competence, where conscious mental practices become so automatic they operate even when your attention is focused elsewhere. Advanced integration includes teaching these principles to others, which deepens your own understanding and creates supportive environments for maintaining mastery. When you help family members, colleagues, or friends understand how thoughts create reality, you strengthen the field of consciousness around you that supports everyone's growth. The practice of conscious leadership involves using your thought mastery to positively influence the mental states and outcomes of groups you're part of. Whether in family, work, or social settings, your mental clarity and positive energy can elevate the consciousness of entire groups, creating collective realities that serve everyone's highest good. Maintenance protocols ensure that thought mastery remains strong over time rather than gradually deteriorating due to unconscious patterns reasserting themselves. This includes regular mental fitness practices, periodic intensive training periods, and continuous learning to deepen your understanding of consciousness and manifestation. The ultimate integration is recognizing that thought mastery is not a technique you do, but a way of being that you embody. When conscious thought direction becomes as natural as breathing, you've achieved true mastery. Your thoughts automatically align with your highest good, and your life becomes a continuous expression of conscious creation. Legacy thinking involves recognizing that your thought mastery affects not just your own life, but the collective consciousness of humanity. Every person who learns to think consciously contributes to the evolution of human consciousness, making it easier for others to discover their own creative power and break free from unconscious limitation. The mastery mindset understands that learning to control your thoughts is not the end goal but the beginning of discovering your true creative potential. When you master your thoughts, you discover that you are not a victim of circumstances, but a conscious creator of reality, limited only by the boundaries of your imagination and the depth of your understanding. This realization transforms every moment into an opportunity for conscious creation, every challenge into a chance to demonstrate mastery, and every day into a canvas for painting the reality that matches your highest vision. Thought mastery is not just a skill, it's a way of living that honors the incredible creative power of human consciousness.